The Madlanga Commission of Inquiry has been hearing partially in-camera evidence at the Bridgette Mabandla Justice College in Pretoria. The commission, of course, probing allegations of criminality, political interference and corruption in the criminal justice system, has been hearing from witness A. Two other witnesses are expected to testify, will also be off-camera, namely witnesses B and C. And this is all due to safety and security related concerns, as we've been hearing there, witness A testifying from a remote location, but with his voice audible. So far, he has, painted this picture expanding on their investigations around the murder of Vereeniging engineer Armand Swart. He's also earlier on painted a picture about just how the murder of Swart was essentially the start of unraveling the Big Five criminal syndicate in Gauteng, testifying to that Major General Richard Shibiri, the head of organized crime, having warned the investigative team of just the immense pushback and personal risk they would face from within the police ranks themselves. And it looks like some of those warnings materialized, because witness A saying that the things that were told would happen really did happen, speaking about how 3 police officers withdrew from the investigation under unexplained circumstances, believed, of course, to be around their own personal safety. All right, let's bring in our senior reporter, Kenny Mapanga, who's been following developments at the Madlanga Commission. Kenny, a very good afternoon to you. So let's then expand on just what we've been hearing from witness A, essentially just, painting that picture about how the murder of Swart was just the start of unraveling the Big Five criminal syndicate in Gauteng, amongst others.
Indeed. Good afternoon to you, Nati, and to the viewers at home. We've seen witness A delve into those alleged interferences and experiences that accompanied the investigations that they undertook from the lens of the murder of Armand Swart, that is that Vereeniging engineer that was tragically murdered in those hail of 23 bullets outside Q-Tech in Vereeniging on the morning of the 17th of April 2024. Now, what we've seen through the evidence of witness A is that he's painted a picture of how the investigations allegedly got to them linking Katiso Molefe, who is alleged to be a member of the Big Five cartel, in that alleged hit. So you see that through the investigations and nabbing the 3 initial suspects in this particular murder, through various crime scenes that they went through and found various vehicles there, as well as exhibits that drew those different suspects together, and then of course placed this Katiso Molefe at the helm of the alleged ordered hit through the electronic communications between Katiso Molefe and Michael Puletau, who we understand to be a former cop, and of course the activities that preceded that area of Vereeniging prior to the 17th, which we saw at least 5 days before, that activities that already started in scouting the area, and of course various vehicles that they were able to link to the accused were then found through the CCTV footage of that particular area. But he then goes into the alleged interferences that took place after they secured the arrest of the initial 3 suspects in the murder of Armand Swart. He goes into the first court appearance where he stated that it was unusual to see the courtroom so packed for these 3 suspects, and then he goes into states in his testimony that majority of those suspects in there were supporters of Michael Puletau, who we understand to be a former cop. He couldn't confirm whether or not some of the supporters were actually cops or not, as they were dressed in normal regalia. He talks about threats and intimidation and discomfort starting there, because that is when they first saw pictures being taken of them, and then of course when they left the courtroom as a team of investigators, he does allege that there were a couple of people that had followed them and tried to drive them off the road. So that was the first instance of alleged intimidation, threats or interference. But when he gets into, I guess, knee deep into the alleged interference that took place in SABC, he zooms in on his senior, that is Major General Richard Shiburu, and alleges that there was a meeting that took place where Shiburu basically warned them of the kind of people that they were going after, that these were dangerous people and they were now on the dangerous terrain of people who have very powerful connections, and that they were going to need to be protected. He then goes on to allege that Shiburu allegedly attempted to influence them or bait them to see if they were going to take an alleged bribe that was on the table. That's what we're hearing through the testimony for the IO, the prosecutor and the magistrate involved in this particular case. And we've already heard through the evidence that was teased in chief by Lieutenant General Tlandam Khwanazi that this evidence has already been placed on the table regarding these alleged bribe envelopes, which everyone understood to be money or an alleged bribe that was being offered to those particular parties that were involved in the significant probe. He also goes into other instances of intimidation or, I guess, trying to compromise or undermine the investigation in the Armand Swart murder. He then goes into the cartridges that were found in one of the vehicles that linked the suspects to this murder, and states that in the ballistics report, those 15 used cartridges that were used to link the suspects to this commissioning of a crime and vereniging towards Armand Swart, that in the ballistics report it was missing, even though those cartridges were submitted, and that they had to go to another KZN SABS lab instead of the Gauteng one to get a report in order to understand whether it was positive or negative. It is witness A's view that this was a form of tampering, allegedly, the evidence in relation to this Armand Swart case. And it seemingly suggests that that is why we are seeing the developments that we're seeing taking place in those particular cases where persons are being released on bail and such, etc., because he is stating that there are allegedly many efforts to frustrate their work in this particular investigation and also undermine the evidence that they have gathered towards this particular probe. Now, this evidence does not stop with witness A. We expect him to continue, and it seems that a large part of these links and inferences that are drawn are going to be from this murder of Armand Swart, where he works for this company that flagged these inflated prices in a Transnet tender, which Katiso Malefe is allegedly linked to. We expect him to continue further with that evidence, and then of course witness B, who is the second investigator that is quite closely linked to the probe and to this matter, will elaborate further on those alleged experiences and alleged interferences in the work of investigators who have been trying to nab these alleged criminal cartels that are operating not only in the illicit space, but of course coupled with hits and tender fraud, etc. We expect that that hearing will begin at 9:30 a.m. tomorrow morning. Over to you in studio.
All right, Kenny, thank you so much for that. Kenny Mapanga, just monitoring those developments, of course, at the Madlanga Commission, giving us that comprehensive summary.